Okay, welcome to the Media Talks series with me at DBC at Detunji. This is where we talk about media practitioners, whether you're working in the traditional media, TV, radio, or you are in the digital space. Every now and then, I bring someone doing something amazing, someone, whether a veteran in the industry or just someone that is up and coming, someone that is new in the industry doing amazing things. Today, I'm so excited about my guest. But just before I introduce her, I'd like to quickly, just talk about what this episode is all about. And I would like to just share a personal story briefly. Years back when I was still, in the mainstream media, working with the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, I had loads of production, presentation chores as well. I had live programs. And so on a very not palatable day, I got the news that we lost my younger brother, our last born. He was 21. My mom was with me, in my house. It was a very sad day for us, very heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. The interesting thing was that I could only scream and, cry, but I couldn't, really sorrow that much because I needed to be strong for my mom and for just about, every other person being the firstborn of the family. The very next day, I had to go and do a presentation, a live program presentation. One would think that I would not be in a headspace to be able to do that. Yes, of course, I was still pained. I was I was in sorrow, about the loss of my brother. But I had to show up on the station, on my program. I had to present, as if nothing was going on, nothing bad was going on in my life. I had to entertain my audience. I had to inform my audience. I had to make my audience feel good, encourage. Incidentally, it was a motivational, inspirational kind of program. I had to inspire my audience, motivate them, and I had to put my own pain in the back burner. And this is what media professionals sometimes have to grapple with. We struggle with our own personal life issues, but we have to show up on air and look like everything is fine. You put on the powder, and you put on a good voice, and just show up as if nothing bad ever happens to you. But again, we are just humans, only humans that are faced with life challenges every now and then. And this can go a long way to affect our work. After bottling it up all in for a long while, it can affect your work and invariably affect your health, your well-being, affect your career. And so this episode, we are talking about safeguarding your mental well-being as a media practitioner, as a media professional, as a journalist. So right about now, I'm going to be, talking a little bit about my guest. First of all, let me just say, welcome, Gwendolyn Oshoniyi. Welcome to Media Talks. Let's see you already.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's really, wonderful to be live with you, sharing my story. And I hope that, we will be able to give people the necessary understanding to compartmentalize their emotions and be able to forge ahead and make something great out of their lives, because when you're not well emotionally, it can
Yeah.
really be detrimental to every other thing.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So before we run and get right into it, let me quickly do an introduction, of you, and let our audience, the viewers, meet you even on a more closer level before we get into the conversation. My guest is Gwendolyn Oshoniyi. She's someone who has over 2 decades of experience in the media industry. She is widely known as Lady Gwen, the Grand Duchess. I like the ring to that. She has showcased her experience across various roles, including social media management, TV and radio presentation and programming, producing, directing, and program management. Her journey has seen her collaborate with esteemed individuals and organizations such as Eloy Awards Foundation, Fumi Iyonda, Teleserve, Bridgeworks, Ebony Life, the producers of Moments with Mo, Cool FM, Today FM Port Harcourt, Impact Business Radio Ibadan, and as the general manager of R2 FM Ibadan. Not stopping at that, Gwendolyn, Lady Gwen, has also served as an acting GM, general manager with the producers of the popular African magic shows like Hush and the Johnson's Family Show. Currently, she spearheads Lady Gwen Media, a reputable media consulting firm specializing in media setup, media management, recruitment, capacity building, content development, script writing, voiceover and jingle production, and documentary production. Additionally, Lady Gwen is a convener of Youth Make Impact, a youth-oriented initiative and single with a purpose, a community catering to the needs of mature single individuals aged 38 to 60, including the divorced, widowed, and single parents. Beyond her professional endeavors, Lady Gwen is an award winning mental health advocate. In fact, she has written a book, and her book, Naked and Squared, offers a poignant exploration of her personal journey with mental health and provides valuable insights into navigating mental awareness. This is so, I celebrate you. I celebrate you. I celebrate you, Lady Gwen. You've really, really come a long way, and you are challenging people like myself and other media professionals, to do so much more. If she can do it, look at the list of things, the array of things she has done, working in both TV, the print, radio, and of course, currently moving on to have her own media consultancy. And of course, I particularly like the fact that it's not just all about you. You are now leaning forward to handhold other people,
Yeah.
through your youth-led initiative, handhold, mature singles, whether they are single, divorced, widowed, and that is something that is not so common, in our
Yeah.
African setting. These are things that we don't really talk about, but there's that section and group of people that actually need support group, understanding, and just encouraging one another. Welcome again to the Media Talk series show with me.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. It's really great to be here, and I'm so excited for us to get into conversation. And I'm hoping that as many people that will watch the video will be uplifted, will find something to hold on to, and their lives will be changed for the better. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great to have you. So, back again to our topic. We are talking about safeguarding our mental well being as media professionals. Now, like my story, media professionals were asked to just show up and not show our emotions. We are
Yeah.
asked to, be professional, to get rid of your biases. You're just asked to just be that in the middle kind of person, no emotional expression. Even when you do, it's just simply about informing, entertaining, and just satisfying your audience base. It's never about you. Let's start with defining what mental health and mental well-being actually means.
This is a fantastic place to start when we talk about mental health, because we need to understand um, the basic things about mental health, and especially when we we are now in a climb where people are beginning to have that awareness, and they are throwing words carelessly around. For instance, you hear people say, oh, I'm mentally unwell, I'm depressed, I'm traumatized, and all
Yeah.
of that. And all that they might just be going through is just mood swings. And
Mm.
because they don't understand or have a good understanding of what mental health is about, they're just, generally aware that they're hearing these words, but they don't really understand the nitty gritty. And so that's why it's very good for us to kickstart by saying mental health is as simple as your emotions, your all, to the extent that your emotion is not conflicting with your activities, with the things you normally have interest in. For instance, if you like to work 5 days in a week, 365 days, you still have interest in the normal things you do, and you take pleasure in them. That means you're well mentally. And mental health, I'm just trying to simplify without all the not complicating it. It's also about you being well um in your thinking, in your senses, in
Right.
your mental faculty. So emotionally you're feeling okay, or you're well. Mentally you're well. All of this, you know come into a place of wellness, and that's where we say this person is has a good mental well-being. And it has to be, before we can say, oh, you're not in a good mental health state. We need to There are some checks maybe the practitioner needs to do before you can be certified to be mentally unstable, or to be going through some state of mental illness or unhealthiness, so to say. So let's just put it as simple as that.
So, taking a cue from the checks, you mentioned there are some checks professionals, practitioners will have to do some tests to verify and ascertain or diagnose that, yeah, you have a bit of you are unwell mentally, or you are experiencing some form of challenge in your mental wellness or health. So, do you want to mention a bit of some of the checks, that practitioners, do
Fantastic.
to
Yes.
determine if a person, yeah, go ahead.
Fantastic. Yes. Yes. Because, like I said earlier on, that a lot of people throw words like depression, just in a flimsy way. So it's better for us to just understand that once you see these signals, you know that, okay, you're having mental health issues. Now, for instance, let's say someone had been sad, maybe sad in the morning and happy in the afternoon, and then you're sad in the evening, and the next day you're happy, you are just having mood swings. So
Yeah.
there is a difference between mood of depression. Mood swings would just add sort of temporal. Could just be that maybe someone died, and of course you should be sad. You should be unhappy. Somebody has died. You should be unhappy. So you are unhappy because of that situation. The
Yeah.
fact that you're unhappy, and you're unhappy maybe first day, second day, maybe fourth day, it does not mean that you're going through a bout of depression.
Okay.
It's just it's just that your mood is, you don't have enough dopamine. Your mood is low. And so we can say this is a mood swing. Okay. And
Or
but
you are
then when
grieving, or you are simply grieving in that
good,
instance.
fantastic. Grief is a form of negative emotions. Okay.
Okay.
So is also a form of showing expressing your emotion for that season, for that time. But if it continues, let's say 2 weeks, at least, if you're grieving for say two minimum of 2 weeks, at least,
Yeah.
and anything from 2 weeks, maybe from uh the first day, second day, seventh day, eighth day, ninth, 10, 11, 14th day, you're still weeping and you can't stop crying. You want to, but you can't stop crying. And you're finding yourself in a state where you can't even get up to do the simple things like brushing your teeth,
Mm.
taking your bath, or you take your bath, you go back to bed and you're crying. You just want to be in that state and you're comfortable in that state. Then after that 2 weeks, one can say this person is sliding into depression. Anything
Yeah.
after 2 weeks, one can definitely say this person is depressed.
Mm.
Depression in itself, to bring you into a poor mental health state, has to be witnessed, for more than 2 weeks. For more than
Okay.
2 weeks. Yes, grief can last maybe 7 days, even a week, even 2 weeks. But it shouldn't be anything after 2 weeks or close to 2 weeks. Then the people around you should be worried, should start taking precautions, to
Mm.
get the person out, especially if the person had an occurrence before, is
Yeah.
susceptible to um maybe depression, or had that season before.
Before.
And
Mm.
then one should really take precaution.
All right. Thank you for shedding light, into that. I mean, some of these emotions, if you do not, pay attention to it and really know what it is, you might not know that you are in a mental state where you need to pay attention to yourself and well-being. And then I like the fact that you are able to like tell us the difference between what mental health and wellness means, as opposed to this flippant throwing around like, oh, I'm mentally disturbed. Like people are not even ready to seriously work. The next thing they tell you that their mental well-being or their mental health is threatened, just because they want to give an excuse for not doing what they're supposed to do. That's another thing entirely. Now, let's come down to, before we come to talk about your book and why you wrote the book Naked and Squared. In fact, that title in itself tells us this is opening it all and saying it as it is. And I must say that's a lot of boldness on your part. Before we get to talking about why you wrote the book, now, how can journalists, our work is such that sometimes you are reporting bad news back to back. The work itself is a high pressured environment. You are working, you are running shifts, sometimes you're on 24 hours, sometimes a lot of times you're working on public holidays, and when there are issues, maybe like a breaking news, you are there. Even when you're working on health related issues, you're just it's intense. It's the media profession is an intense, constant back to back, trying to develop content, trying to put things together, to satisfy the audience, the community, to entertain, to educate, to inform. It's pretty much intense. So I want, from your own experience, working in mainstream media, how do we begin to identify that time as journalists or media professionals when it is too much? How do we begin to recognize that, hey, I think it is getting too much. I think I need a break. I think I'm pushing myself too hard. How do we begin to recognize that and begin to do something about it? All right.
Okay, that's a very good question, because I remember there was a time I was working in a volatile region where there was a little bit of insurgency, and I had to tell my boss, my immediate boss, that, look, sir, I'm supposed to be on the radio and show up, just like in your introduction, and show up for people and give the city some sort of calmness, give the people listening to us some sort of feel that everything will be fine. You know, we will rise again as a city, because this Boko Haram, the BH, they had gone, you know, killing people here and there, and the whole state was thrown into a kind of pandemic, you know, chaotic time at that
Situation.
time. So,
Yeah.
it was such that we needed to come back on the radio and speak to the people to go about their normal duties, let activities resume, and squash the fear. But me, that's I am the presenter that is supposed to be like a therapist on the radio. I wasn't fine. So I had to
Mm.
tell my employer and say, look, sir, the best thing for us would have been for us as presenters to also have a psychologist, a psychiatrist talk to us so that we can be able to do our work. But, we didn't have that privilege. So what I did was to bring a psychiatrist, who would come talk and would do an interview. In that way, I was also receiving my rejuvenation and
Nice.
also helping the audience. But I was doing it from a place of being an informed person. So I think we need to have a workplace, space where people will take their mental well-being seriously. And we also need to have our superiors, our employers, who understand these things. Because this is what would happen when somebody, a worker or a staff, an employee, is having or their mental well-being is challenged, or having a sort of breakdown. This is what will happen. You will not be able to get the best of them. They will work under, they will not, their output will not be as optimal as it should be. So, and it will affect the work, it will affect other chains, of the services you're rendering. So you need to understand that they are human, they are not robots, they are not automated, human being, robotic, and all of that. They are human, and they are subjected to be affected by all of the breaking news, all of the issues, that is going on in the
Yeah.
country. Dollar is moving up and down. They are also in that system, in the policy. Okay, so they don't have a firewall, that would defend them and shield them from all of those external, reactions. So what you are supposed to do, the moment you see that this person is not productive as they used to, maybe if you give them 5 assignments, they deliver 4. Maybe they are reporting, they're supposed to go to Ibadan, go to Abeokuta, go to Kano, and they're doing all of these things, turning in their reports on time. Then you now find out that they're saying, oh, I'm tired. I can't, they're delaying on reports, their deadlines are always shifting, they're not meeting up with time log and all of that. What you're supposed to do as an employer or a superior staff is to call them and find out what is their mental health state or status. It could be some additional triggers from home. Maybe they're going through
Yeah.
stuff at home. Maybe things are happening with their children, they're having financial difficulties, and it could even be as a result of the work itself, like they're taking too much. And they're
Yeah.
imagine you're reading news, you the some I mean 30 people have been kidnapped somewhere, River State's legislatures are, it's as you're reading it, you're also reading it into your
It's sinking in.
subconscious.
Yeah.
It's also affecting you. And some people, some presenter, broadcasters, journalists, they've not learned the art of managing information, in the sense that the information, even in as much as you've read it, you drop it at work and you pick up happy things. You have some strategies to recycle your mental well-being, your emotions, so that you can be happy again. And all, so they've not been able to manage that. So
Yeah.
what the employ and the people around, for instance, if I see you at DBC and that you're coming late, you're always looking tired, you're not looking as sharp as you used to, your clothes are rumpled,
Yeah.
you wear maybe slippers to work instead of proper shoes, you don't use makeup as you used to before, you're just looking, always looking tardy. What I am supposed to do as someone that is mental, that has that understanding of mental wellness, should do is to call you, ask, is everything okay? And not just feel that, oh, it's just one of those things, we're all busy.
Mm. Mm.
We should
Yeah.
learn to ask. And in asking, then you'll be able to know, one, what is going on with that person. Two, how long has it been that the person has been in that state. Trust
Mm.
me, I was going to work. I was usually going to work, but I didn't know. Okay, now let me quickly put out a caveat. And that is,
Yeah.
someone might be going through mental health challenge. Okay, someone might be going through mental health challenge. It could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be anything. Well, they could be going through mental health issues, and they themselves, they may not be aware.
Mm. That's
Okay,
true.
they may not be aware. They might even be in the midst of people. They might laugh. Okay, they might laugh. They might laugh at your jokes. They might be going to work, but they may not be aware, or they are aware, but they're just using all of these activities to cover up. So it
Yeah.
is now for somebody else to take note and say, look, you don't look as smart as you used to look. What's going on? Find
Okay.
out, and how long has it been going on? And then you'll be able to tell that, oh, this person, probably you need a break. Because in you having a break, it means that all of those external issues,
Yeah.
you are reading those horrible news, you're you're in the midst of those chaotic situations, you can actually
Yeah.
take a break from all of them and then concentrate on some other things that makes you happy. Your dopamine level, you need to work on it. I mean, you will know that you need to work on it, and come back feeling refreshed. So I think we need to have an informed um, mental health space at work, informed
Yeah.
staff, informed
Yeah.
superiors.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I love that point of view. Informed staff and informed superiors.
Give me.
Thank you. Now, picking up from some of the points you made, you talked about strategies to manage stressors as a media professional or journalist, and you talk about dopamine level. Now, beyond the bosses or the management, how can individuals you know own their own mental wellness, in the workplace. You've mentioned some about, looking for when you leave the office, do something else that puts you in a happy place. Don't just keep following the news and get yourself all choked up with bad news and bad negative vibes and all of that. Find some happy space for yourself even after work. What else can we do? What other strategies can we, adapt to manage the stressors we face as journalists, going by your own experience? And when you say dopamine level, how can we up our dopamine level? That's a bit of a technical term.
Okay, so thank you. Okay, so I as much as I'm a mental health advocate, I may not be able to explain some of the hormones that
Okay.
affect the mental health state. But this is how much I can say, that there are hormones that once they are low, once they are high, they affect the reactions and they affect the brain. Okay.
Okay.
And
Okay.
because you don't have control, so to say, and over your hormones, to say, okay, like salt isn't much, I need to add more salt. Okay, or this food is not tasting nice, I need to add seasoning. Because that you have control over, but your hormones, you may not have control over them. So this is what you're supposed to do. The moment you realize that you are becoming inactive, you're tired, and that tiredness, you hear some people come to work in the morning and they will tell you, I'm feeling this exhaustion, I'm tired, and it's coming from inside, and sometimes some of those people can't even read, they can't assimilate. Then the moment you yourself know that you can't assimilate what people are saying, you are reading something over and over again and you can't even understand it. If you're finding simple languages, simple reading difficult, you're just tired of everything. You're tired of your job. So you hear some women even say, I'm tired of my marriage. And you ask them, okay, what has your husband or your partner or your spouse, what have they done? You say, in fact, my husband is a kind person. He does everything right. So what is the matter? They are just tired. And if that tiredness is not taken care of, it will go into a much, much serious problem where they now tell you, I want a divorce. I want out. I'm done. You see people just resign. There are underlying issues. So now, back to hormones. So I talked about dopamine. Dopamine is one of the crucial hormones that makes people feel good, makes people feel happy. In fact, some people call it feel good hormone. So
Okay.
dopamine is like a drug to your brain. And that's why some people, because they have all of the ganja, all of those colors and all of that, to get them into the happy space. What it does is, because of some of the chemicals in those drugs, alcohol, substance intake, it affects their dopamine and it takes it to a high level. But now the problem with some of those substances is that it doesn't have control. So it takes it high, maybe like 100, and the person is like very hyperactive. The happiness is out of this world, and it takes them really hyperactive to the extent that they do crazy things that are abnormal. That could also be an effect of a high level of dopamine. So it has to be regulated. And what some of the things you do to just give you a little taste of dopamine here and there, a little bit, you know, like um I talked about doing happy things. What makes you
Yeah.
happy? For some
Yeah.
people, their children, going out with their children makes them happy. So
Okay.
being with people they love, you know, maybe with a lover, having hangouts. And that's why you see a lot of men after work, a lot of journalists after work, they're having hangouts, drinking, having pepper soup, because that's their happy place. But
Okay.
there has to be control. Okay,
Mm.
so let's not go there yet. So you have a little bit of those happy things, activities to get your dopamine level a little bit high. Then another thing you need to do, self-care. Self-care could just be a simple thing as taking care of your skin, go to the spa, your nails, your hair, do a little bit of massage. And you see some of those
Mm.
massage, if they're properly done, sauna baths. Let me also put out a caveat here that before you do sauna bath, be sure that you don't have a neurological problem, in the
Okay.
sense that if you have a neurological problem, the heat, too much of heat, might make your neurons, might affect your neurons, might affect you. So you need to find out from your doctor if a sauna bath is good for you.
Mm.
Outside that, you have your sauna bath, you have a little bit of maybe cold or hot compress. They soothe your nerves. They soothe
Mm.
your nerves. So
Okay.
all of those things would add up to your self-care, so to say. Exercise too, movement, especially if your workload, forces you to be behind a desk for so long. For those who are in the banking sector, for those who are broadcasters who are always writing, you're always sitting in one position for long. It's not good for you. That is living a sedentary lifestyle. So what you can
Mm.
do, a little bit of brisk walking, exercise, nothing vigorous, something very strategic for your muscles, for blood to flow. Because when
Mm.
blood is not flowing properly, it can't flow to the brain, and something that will help you to breathe better. And that's why people do so much yoga these days, do meditation. All of those things help you to be grounded and to breathe in a little bit better, because when your brain is suffocated with air, it will affect some hormones, it will affect the nerves, it will affect the functionality, and it will now affect your emotions, it will affect your physical health, and all of these things, you see that they're all linked. So
Yeah.
you need
Yeah.
a little bit of mobility. And like I said, it may not be rigorous. It could just be brisk walking, walk around your area, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and all of that. It will also help your muscles. It will help your nerves. When I have depression, one of the things I used in getting out was mobility. I told
Mm.
myself that if I this year, 2024, I'm hoping that people will still watch this video, you know, in 2030 to come. But
Well.
as at 20 as at 2024, January, one of the goals I set was mobility. That even if I'm not going out, I'm not doing anything, I must, at least in the mornings, I must get out of my bed, go to the kitchen, come back, go to the kitchen, go to the restroom, come back, go outside, just keep moving. Because this is what also happens when you're going through sliding into depression, or when you're sliding into anxiety. You tend to be embedded by your confinement, by
Mm.
your space. You tend to be affected. Your brain is seeing the same people, seeing
The
the
same
same
thing.
pictures, same thing. It affects your brain,
and it will affect your mood. So what I do is I change my environment. I go out, see different things. Colors also brightens our emotion. They hype our dopamine level a little bit. So these are some of the things people need to do. Be with people that will cheer you up, that are positive. Be with positive association, positive environment. Stay away from, like you said, negative vibes. When we say negative vibe, it could just be people that will just tell you, oh, maybe you're trying to lose weight. You've been trying so hard to lose weight or even to gain weight. I mean, I read your book. I think I saw maybe one of your pictures or something like that. And I was like, oh my goodness, you're a total change from then and now. And I'm like, could this person be also struggling with weight gain or weight
Yeah.
loss? Now, this person is very thin, and you're not seeing them in the long run, and you say, you are all messy, like a dry
Yeah.
fish. Like
Yeah.
you're just so dry, like a dry fish. That's not a compliment. Or you're
Yeah.
seeing someone that is on the big side. You should know that somebody that is on the big side might be having maybe some challenges and all of that to trying to lose weight. And then you are telling the person, you are too fat. You are so
Wow.
fat. This your
Mm.
fat. Won't you go and do something about it? That's really
Mm.
being insensitive and unkind. And
Yeah.
that can actually also be a trigger for that person to slip into um, bad mood and days of bad mood, and then they enter
Mm.
into depression, after a while. So we also need to feed on good words, good people that will give us good words around us. If people are not blessing you with their words, please stay away from them.
Some
Those are
such
bad
people, I agree.
energies.
I agree. Absolutely. If so again, the people that you network with, the people in your corner, the people are your friends. You need to be careful. You need to have people that we encourage you, hold you up. Be kind with their words to you. And again, I would say the other way around. We should be kind with our words, with other people, not just sometimes we are just playing. We don't know that that thing we've said is very serious to to the other person. So we need to be intentional
Yes.
about being kind.
Let me just say two things in addition. Let me start from that kindness. You see, sometimes we ourselves, we are not kind to ourselves.
Mm,
There are sometimes people beat themselves down with words
mm,
like, I can't do this. I can't be good enough. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. And sometimes when people have made mistakes, we have a way of judging ourselves, and we overjudge ourselves and put ourselves in that position of sadness, sorrow that will last for days.
mm.
We also need to learn how to be kind to ourselves. I mean, some people will look at themselves in the mirror and say, man, you just war. You are saying that to
To
yourself.
yourself. Mm,
So we need to also be kind to ourselves and say, oh, Gwen, you are the best of you. Adebisi, you are what I'm saying in the mirror, you look so beautiful. You look so awesome. All of that. Then number two that I would say in that regard, in terms of self-care, is to say, watch what you eat. You see, a lot of the things we eat to survive in Nigeria. We eat to survive because food sometimes is is luxury. Certain food, they're luxury
yeah,
to us.
yeah.
But we can help ourselves because some of this food and fruits, they contain those good chemicals that will up our hormonal balance. or that will create hormonal balance, or that will create that good, feel good hormone like the dopamine. Like when you're eating grapes, apple, all of these things, they have their chemicals, they could produce all the vitamin C, all of those nutrients. They help our dopamine level, and so we need to watch what we take. If we take too much of fries, pastries, all of these things, too much, we should have it balanced. We
Yeah.
should have it balanced. Yes.
I hear you. So the food we eat, being kind to ourselves, be kind with yourself, with your words, not just what people say. Do what makes you happy, exercise, um, go out, make sure that you are mobile, particularly for us in this profession as media professionals that we're always on the table. Ensure that you exercise a brisk walk, ensure that you take yourself out on a spa or something, take yourself out on a date. And then of course I remember Lady Gwen saying balance, even when you go out with colleagues or friends, to take a drink, ensure that it is balanced. Let's quickly come down to your book, Naked and Square. That is where we just zero in on that, and then we wrap up on this conversation. What inspired you to write the book Naked and Square, and what did you hope to achieve with it?
So, a lot inspired me. But first of all, I had a mental health issue, and I broke down. But I also realized that over the years, as I was growing up, I had been going through bouts of depression, which I wasn't aware of. But as I began to look back into my life as a young girl, growing into teenage years, and then as a woman, I then realized that, oh, all of those things, I used to think about. I used to, as a teenage girl, I used to have suicide ideation and all of that. So I then began to realize that, oh my goodness, I had been having, mental health issues over the years without me knowing. But
Wow.
I then came crashing. I think in 2019 or thereabouts, or 2018, and I was even going to work at that time, and I was looking for people to talk to. I felt lost. I felt there was no use for me in the world. I
Oh,
felt
wow.
I had no purpose. I would just wake up and just be sad. And I'll be wondering,
Mm,
why are you sad? Why?
mm,
What's I did why are you I just couldn't understand it. I wanted to be
mm,
happy, couldn't place it. So one of those times, in fact, I went to shave my hair because my hair was usually very unkempt, and I wanted to just be free. So I shaved, my hair, just did gorimapa. So it all went on like that. Seriously, it all went on like that, and um, I came out of it later without seeing a therapist. I came out of it then sometime in 2023, no, 2022. I had a meltdown again in 2022. And at that time, so many things were really off. And I could what was happening again. In fact, I cut my hair again at that time. And it wasn't for fashion. It was just simply because I was just tired. I was tired of wearing clothes. I was tired of keeping my hair. So I cut my hair. And then I spoke to someone who was a life coach and a therapist, but was not a mental health therapist. So I spoke to him that I needed to speak to maybe a mental health therapist. And then he referred me to like two people. I called them
their fees were so exorbitant.
Mm,
It was
I can
it was out
imagine.
of my reach. And I was also jobless at that time. I was out of job. So I realized that, you know what, at this point, there was no hope. Also, that was the voice I was hearing, that there was no hope for me. And I was now having ideation and feeling like just ending it. There were some other things, that
Mm,
happened in between and all of that. And by the time I came out, I said to myself, I need to share my story. I need to let people know that there is hope for them. I need to um I need to bring people to a point of awareness. And anyway, since I'd always all my life wanted to also have books, write books,
yeah.
novels, and but they were meant to be fictional, and adventurous stories, and all of that. But I decided, you know what? Why not share your story? Why not just let it out and bring yourself
Mm,
as a light in the midst of people's darkness? And the book, the other thing for me is that this book has also been a guiding light for people to understand that it's not just them. All of these things is not
there are
just
other people going
particular
through
to
it
them.
too.
Exactly. Because I think one of the issues I also had was I was feeling that this whole thing is happening to just me. I mean, why is it that this person, that person, everybody, they're going their normal businesses, they're feeling okay, their life, they're feeling well, they're happy, things are happening for them, they're navigating life very well. And I was beginning to feel like, oh, it's just me. I'm the problem. It's just all about me. And that in itself sent me even deeper, even into feeling depressed, became a trigger for me until I now wrote the book, and people were saying, this was the same way I was feeling. Oh, so all
Oh,
of that time I
you are
was
not
feeling like this,
alone.
you know, exactly. So I was actually having a moment, and so that was also part of the things the book did for people as well. It gave them the courage to speak out, to also know that they're not alone. And in the book, for me, it wasn't just telling about some sad stories and all of that, but it was also part of just um I had segments or chapters or columns where people can actually read about the how. If you're feeling this way, what to do, how to go about it, strategies and lessons I have learned from my self recovery and all of that. So yeah,
Great, great. So I really am grateful in a sense that you came through that. What I'm hearing is your writing, journaling your story was kind of a sort of a healing process. Also brought healing to you as well. Am I right?
very well, very true, very true. Because
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
in writing in writing the book, I came across some other emotions that I'd even forgotten, and
Mm,
I was able to backtrack and clear out some of those emotions. It's more like while writing, you notice that, oh, it helped me to declutter my emotions. It's helped me to realize that there were some people in my past that I needed to totally forgive,
and let's go.
or I needed to let go, and all of that. It brought me to a point of realization. It helped me as well. It was therapeutic for me as well. Yeah, it was really therapeutic for me as well. And I also came to discovering myself as well. I
Yeah.
discovered that colors were affecting me, dark colors or
Oh,
um,
wow.
certain colors were also affecting my mood.
Your
And if you
mood.
look at the
Okay.
book, I have a copy. Okay, so this
Nice.
is this is a copy. Yes, if you look at it, it's bright. It's bright. It looks
Beautiful.
it exudes a kind of
Happiness.
emotion that when you look at the book, you're attracted to it. And I it came from how I was feeling. I wanted something that would affect the mental state happily and put people in a happy state, even from you looking at the book. And so I realized that, colors were also part of those things that would trigger, um, my mental imbalance or my mental health imbalance. And I
Mm.
began to learn to even wear happy colors.
Nice.
Yellow is one of my favorite colors. Wear happy colors, like you can see red lipstick. Those are also
Yeah.
part of the things I use in lightening my personality. So it was the book really helped. It helped me personally as well.
Did you eventually, assess um, therapy sessions, counseling, and how are you undergoing any currently?
Okay, so sadly, and that's the truth, I didn't um I didn't have a paid therapist. I didn't have a paid therapist, but there were some mental health conferences I was going for, webinars,
Okay.
open house mental health gathering. And luckily, some of those people were having free mental health sessions where people can come
Services.
in,
Yeah.
yes, without paying and see a therapist and, have maybe like some moments with the therapist. Every conferences, mental health conferences that I was seeing online, I was attending, I was usually going for their therapy sessions. At least
Uh,
I saw I then met some therapists, I would take advantage. In fact, at some of the sessions, I would just start crying.
oh,
I
wow.
mean, it was so embarrassing. It was, oh God. It was really so embarrassing. And I would tell myself, get a grip of your emotion. I
No,
would just
you were
start
letting
crying.
out the pent up. You were letting out the pent up feeling, emotions. I think that was what was happening.
But yes, I agree with you. But you see, while I was also going through that depressive state, um, I was also mostly just indoor crying. I would just be in my bed, cry. I will cry, 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 cry. And
Mhm.
and ah, so I was so by the time I started going out, because a friend of mine noticed that I was writing encrypted messages on my WhatsApp status, and
Mhm.
he reached out to me. One or two other people reached out to me, but this particular friend of mine, I I shared how I was feeling. So he was always like, "No, don't stay in that your house. Come out." So he was always inviting me out, forcing me to
Mhm.
come out. And so going out began. It was also a process of my healing. And so,
Mhm.
well, back to your question, I wouldn't say that I registered for paid therapy, but I was always going for
Free therapy.
free therapy
Fantastic.
sessions. And then now, what I'm now also doing, in fact, you are one of the first people to know about this. What I'm now also doing is I've enrolled um, at the at in school to study child and adolescent mental health.
So
Wow.
I'm studying right now, I'm studying child and adolescent mental health. And what I'm doing with it is to help me to understand what mental health and mental well-being is all about and can do for people, especially if we can catch it while children are still growing.
So
Because
young.
a lot of these things start from when people are young. Like I had a bit of childhood trauma. Okay. I mean, somebody died, parents, maybe a parent, like my mother died quite early in life. I wrote a bit about that. Um, that affected me a
Mm.
lot. It affected me a lot. Okay. And that becomes a foundational barrier for children growing up. And it becomes a foundational issue for children. So we need to address some of these things. So if we can understand when our teenagers are growing, some of the insecurities they're battling with and causing them um, a prolonged sadness that we can now say
Mm.
it's depression. If we can understand some of these things and catch them early, we would lead them into a much, 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 much healthier adulthood. So that is also part of the things I'm doing for myself. And also hoping that, it translates to a communal benefit at the end of the day.
This is so good to hear. I'm hearing that um, you didn't have paid, therapy session because you couldn't afford it, but you reached out to, mental health webinars, and you took advantage. You leveraged on the free session, and I think that's so good to hear. Which brings us to the fact that we need to have affordable mental health care services you know, in Nigeria and wherever. Well,
RWC,
and mm,
RWC, please let me come in right there. You just like nailed something right there in the corner. One of the times, because I also have a community of people where we share mental health issues and support people going through, and caregivers as well. We have a community. And so I said to myself, okay, because people had told me, the government hospitals, they have psychiatric departments. Why didn't you go? And all of that. I didn't want that stigmatization, because the moment you enter into any of those faculty departments, people just look at you like, this one is psycho. This one
exactly.
is going through some psychosis or
Mm,
psychotic issues, and all of that. And you don't have to even be psychotic
mm,
therapies for you to see a psychiatrist and all of.
yeah.
You don't have to be. It might just be that you have a challenge, you have a project, you're writing a book, you might need a therapist to help you to build your your emotional productivity, to help you to get through that project. It could just be that. And so anyway, I went to Yaba Left. That's the neuropsychiatric
Section.
hospital in Lagos, Yaba. So I went, and in my own little way, I was actually there to do some findings. Guess what? For you to register, and for you to register, you need to, your card or something like that was 9,000. And then the next consultation or something was, I flipped. I was screaming. 9,000 naira. That was I think last year. I think that was last year. So you can imagine what that, with all of this inflation and all that, how much you will spend now. That was just for you to take your card. So for your first consultation.
Mm,
So I was thinking, how many people can afford that? How
mm,
many? How many people will be able to take out 10,000 naira and say, I want to go to free health service and take a card for 10,000 naira? You're not even talking about the bedding, if you're going to admit you,
or the
if you're going to be
consultation
seeing
with the
them, how much
doctor.
each consultation will be, and then
Mm.
drugs and all of that. You're not looking at that yet. So it's quite expensive. And I don't know what needs to happen, but policies needs to change. A lot of things needs to change. I know that there are some therapies, there are some psychologists that are doing things for free, but how many are they? How many?
And then how
So
long?
these are
How,
some of the
again,
issues
again,
we
they
also need to
also,
look at and talk
yeah.
about as journalists as well.
Yeah, and then again, you know, when people charge money, I really don't like to say, oh, it's too much or too little. You know, again, they need it for their practice and to survive. So maybe if we have pro bonos community, like you said, it might help us to better address, you know, mental health and wellness. To have it in a to access, you know, therapy in a safe place, you know, and then the stigmatization as well. It's okay not to feel good. It's okay to have trauma from your childhood and you need help. It's okay to reach out, you know, to other people, to reach out for help. Don't die in silence. Don't be, you know, presenting a brave front all of the time. You come out to do your job, yes, as whether as a media professional, as anyone watching this, you present a brave front and you know something is not, you know, going down well. So if you feel you are in a depressive mood, don't lock yourself in. Find yourself someone you can trust to speak with, someone in your circle. Look for good support system. You know, that's why it's even important to invest in proper good friendship. You know, for me, I'm a faith person. So my faith plays a big role in, you know, in my life. So for me, prayers, some people may say they are doing yoga and all of, I do prayers, I do, you know, church support, then friend support, you know. And then when you need, you know, professional support as well, apart from praying, it's not just about praying. Praying is important, feeding yourself with the right words is also important. But then again, if you know you need professional support, you might want to reach out. And I love, again, I will reiterate, just like Lady Gwen here reached out to mental health webinars and free therapies. You might want to do that. I'm going to be putting like some of those webinars you attended. I'll be putting, maybe you want to mention them. I want to put it in the bio of this video so anyone can, you know, again, find such resource useful. I'll also be putting links to your book. Anyone that wants to access it to probably, you know, read your story and apply some of your lessons and learnings to their own life, to their own situation. So it's a lot. We've talked about a lot, and one conversation session is not enough to cover it. But we just hope that somehow somebody that is watching this is able to know that they are not alone, is able to know that they can be in a happy place, is able to know that you need not be brave, reach out to get help, is able to know that there's actually help out there. And I must celebrate you and thank you, Lady Gwen, for, you know, helping others through your story, as well as the course you are doing now, you know, the child and adolescent mental health, you know, course you are doing, so that you can help other people. I think if more people are able to reach out to help others, we'll have a happier,
Yeah.
you know, society. When somebody is not okay emotionally, you are not well mentally, it affects everything. And the most dangerous one is it begins to affect body organs without you even knowing. Can affect your heart, can affect, you know, just unnecessary sickness that you're wondering what is wrong with me. Nothing is really wrong. It's just that somewhere in your mood, somewhere in your emotional space, things are not right, and that is affecting other parts of your life and your, you know, your well-being and your health. Thank you again so much for making our time to come on the Media Talk series. It's been such an enriching time with you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And keep doing the good work. I've watched other series of your show. It's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And so this is why we're calling it a wrap on the program. Media Talks series. You would agree with me that it has been a very insightful, hopeful, inspiring time with Lady Gwen on today's show. And what we just want to say is this: you don't have to do life alone. You are not alone in your struggles, whether you're beginning trauma, childhood trauma, adulthood trauma, you're not alone. Please get help. Get help. Pay attention to your emotions, your well-being. Ask questions. Don't die in silence. Don't die alone. You are not alone in this. Even me, I have problems. And we are moving with it. So please take care of yourself. Your life will be beautiful. You will do great things. Walk, 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 walk. Good. But pay attention to your well-being, to your wellness. And this will be a wrap on the program until we catch you next time on another interesting episode. Bye bye.
Bye bye.